Hi and salam sejahtera everyone. In this video, my group and I would like to present about ICT200 videos presentation which entitled Energy Library. Beforehand, I would like to introduce to you my group members and I. First, this is me, Tommy, and this is Johardi, and this is Muhammad Ramizan, and this is Natalie. Without further ado, let us proceed to the introduction.
Hi, I'm Johardi and I'm going to talk about introduction for this organization. So first and foremost, library is an essential part of scholastic sector in addition to some professional sectors too like advocacy and etc. It is also one of suitable location in which we can easily get details in any format and from lots of sources. Thus, system library management is meant to have fast process deals for searching books, titles, obtaining books, returning books, computing penalties, and gathering precise report. Therefore, the efficiency of a library lies in the reality how it is organized and how quickly one can get the books of their own options. So nowadays we usually see that the manual library management system whose procedure of operation is quite chaotic, and for this reason it involves the utilization for the processing, accessing, and recovering the information that can effectively support the procedure of students knowing, decision making, and scholastically approaches. So this is for the organizational background, which is Energy Library is an information center to support the process of teaching, learning, research, innovations, and university publications. Energy Library also extends the service to its branch location at Medical Library and Engineering Multimedia Library. And thousands of books are available at Energy Library in various fields. Most of them are related to the courses offered in local universities, and there are also thousands of information and knowledge in the various fields which can be accessed electronically 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, including subscriptions of database that contain full text journals and electronic books. So this one is the organization chart. Basically, it's starting with the library director, which is under of this library director is have five of it, which is head of adult service, head of children service, head of administrative service, head of circulation service, and for the last is head of technical service. So this one is the current description for this organization, which is when new student enters Energy Library to borrow for a book, the student gets information from inquiry counter to make registration. The student will provide with a student identification card. This card because of information from the student, and then the student will have the chance to borrow a book after the registration has been made, and then therefore the students need to bring along the book to the book borrow session, and then the student will have to wait for the librarian to have manual settle for the book information, and then the receipts of the book that will be borrowed and will be generated and recorded for the student manually. So basically that's the simple description for this current system for this organization.
Hello, my name is Tommy. In this part, I would like to talk about the problem statement. These days, this library organization has encountered a problem which it led to a need to create a databases for this organization. For this reason, my group and I had detected some current problem statement in this organization. Due to the manual system, they found out that it is difficult to update the records of book and detect the due date of the borrowers who borrowed the book. Besides, the system would take up time which it is hardly to register for a new student to borrow for a book. To prevent this situation keeps on happening, my group and I have proposed the database project objective to this organization. This includes first, to enable librarian to manage the registration electronically. Secondly, to provide quick access to the student information. Third, automatically generate student's dates of birth that has been borrowed after scan the student identification card, which is their my card number. And the last one is to enable the librarian manager officer to perform process of inserting, updating and deleting the data easily. Now we move on to the next part, which is the business rules. So the environment for this project is library environment. Therefore, the database name that will be created for this organization is Energy Library. This database also created 7 entities in this database, which includes first, students, second, book, third, staff, and the fourth one is reports, the fifth one is borrower's records, the sixth one is transaction, and the last one is book return records. Now, let us proceed with the relationship between the 7 entities. So, the first part will be, one student can borrow many books, and many books can be borrowed by each student. Secondly, details of many students can be recorded into many borrowers' records, and many borrowers' records can be recorded from details of many students. Next, one student can make many transactions, and many transactions can be updated by each student. Followed by, one staff can manage many books, and many books can manage by each staff. Then, after that, one staff can generate many reports, and many reports can be generated by each staff. Then, many books to be borrowed can be recorded to one borrower's record, and each borrower's record can record many books that being borrowed. Next, many borrowers' record can record statement from one transaction, and each transaction can be recorded into many borrowers' record. And this part is, one student can update many book return records, and many book return records can be updated by each student. Lastly, many borrowers' records can print from many reports, and many reports can print many borrowers' reports. And that's all from this part. Thank you and enjoy for the next slide.
Hi everyone, my name is Natalie and today I'm going to talk about relational schema of the database from 1NF to 3NF. A relational schema is a set of relational tables and associate items that are related to one another. So as you can see here in the box, this is the example of our relational schema that we have created from our group project.
Hello, my name is Mohammed Romizan and today I will present about our group project presentation. Let's move on. So, for the ERD, our system has 7 entities that is conclude student, book, staff, book return record, transaction, borrowers, records, and reports. Each of the, each of the entities have their own attributes and each of the entities have their own relationship. For example, student can borrow books, which conclude student is one and book is many. So it has relationship of one to many. That is an example for ERD.
Alright, so this one is for database demonstration. First and foremost, we have to create database, which is database are structured to facilitate the storage, retrieval, modification, and deletion of data in conjunction with various data processing operation. A database management system is to extract information from the database, and it will be respond to the other queries before after this after create the database. So we have to jot down the drop database if exists energy library, and second, create database energy library, and third, use energy library, and lastly we have to show the database. And that's for the code of this creating database. And that's all from me. Thank you.
So for our system, we have 7 table, that is student, book, staff, borrower records, transaction reports, and book return records. So in our database, we have created 7 table, that is what I shown, and this is one of the example from the 7 tables, that is book return records. So for each of it, it has its own attribute and it has one primary key on its table. So for each table, it have at least one primary key, and some of them maybe have at least one or more primary key. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
So for the next one, I'm going to talk about my SQL queries. So the first one is simple queries where it contains 3 SQL queries, and as you can see in the output picture down below, the first SQL queries is used to retrieve and display all of the record from the student table. The second SQL queries is used to retrieve the specified table from staff ID, staff name, and staff type and display all of the record from the staff table based on the retrieved records. And the third one is used to retrieve the specified table from staff ID, staff name, and staff type and display all of the records from the staff table based on the retrieved record, but the result will be listed order by the staff name. So the second one is retrieving data from multiple tables. And as you can see for the first SQL queries here, it is used to select staff name and book title from staff and book table, where staff name equal to Dayang City and book ID equal to 1002. The second one is used to select staff ID, staff name, and staff in charge ID from staff and borrower's record table, where staff ID is equal to staff in charge ID, and all of this is ordered by staff name. And for the third one is used to retrieve the specified table from staff ID and student ID from the staff table. The result will be displayed as for student of this current number here who have common value to where it has been served by different staff that in charge on the day they borrow a book. So the third one is column functions and grouping. The first SQL query here is used to retrieve and display the record of number of book price from the book table such that the sum will be functioned as sum, and it is to compute total of the price of books and will be displayed in the column of sum of book price. The second SQL queries here is used to retrieve the specified table of the book title from the book table. Here, the in clause has been used to compare the list of the values. And the third SQL script here is used to retrieve and display the record of student records from the record table such that the student records will be counted as total borrow, and it will be displayed the list of student records and total borrow, which is to identify the total number of book borrow from each of the borrower. The result also will be grouped by student record and listing order by student records and total borrow. So the last one is subqueries, where it also contains 3 of them. And the first SQL script here is used to select trans ID, trans name, and borrower's ID from the transaction table, where the trans date is higher than the average of trans date from transaction table. The second one is to select book ID, book title, and number copies of books from book table, where the cost of books is equal to the lowest cost of book from the book table. And the last one is to select book ID, book title, book edition, and the number of copies of books from the book table, where the cost of book is equal to the average of cost of book from the table. So that is all from me. Thank you.